Can you hear me? Okay. Technical difficulties this evening. Let me send you guys a message. Huh. Yes. I'm going to stay here. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, say hello. Yes, there you are, Blake. Right just before I was going live, my whole system froze, and I could see you guys typing. You can't see me yet? I can see me on YouTube. Can anybody else see me? Oh, there I am. Well, there I am. Well, hopefully we'll get some more people hopping in. That's crazy. Ah, there you go. Crazy. Yeah, I was at 141 and suddenly everything stopped in my tech tonight. So somebody wanted me to start late. Well, I hope you guys are well. I'm actually doing well. I'm glad you found the other live stream. Hopefully other people will find it as well. It looks just like just a few of us in here right now. Take a quick drink of water. Blake, I saw and Chitra, I saw your comments on the new channel. Thank you for being over there and checking that out. I've now got all the ones up there that are very, very long. 141. The whole technical thing popped out on me there, Joe. I'm at 444 was a big thing for me too, Marcy. That started when Nick Bunick's book came out, The Messengers, and he had all those 444 experiences. And then I just started having them like crazy, and it was very, very interesting. Now, and what happened today? Today was like a really weird technical glitch day because earlier today, my new YouTube channel got trashed, just disappeared, and then I couldn't get Level Up Spirit back again as the name. So I actually added the 444. And it's now at Level Up Spirit 444 is now the channel over there. He is the one. Yeah, he remembers being Paul. I've had dinner with him a couple times, and I'm a little dubious on his memory. Because when you read the book, he was claiming he was the only one who really knew Jeshua, and Paul, according to all other writings, never met him in life. He only met him as a vision on the road to Damascus. And in the book, The Messengers, he basically says, all those hangers-on around him are nobodies. And, I took a little offense to that at the time. So, hello, Bridget. How are you? Sorry about the technical stuff tonight, everybody. It was just one of those days. I actually traveled all over the world with a man who remembers being Philip. I've met a lot of people, and I've met a lot of multiples of the same characters. So I've met multiple Johns, Peters, Pauls, Mary Magdalenes. I've met over 30 of them. And do I know whether they all actually are or not? No. Do I think all of them were? No. Do I think it's possible that multiples were? No. Well, yes, actually, yes, I do. I think it's all part of the oneness of God. I don't even know whether I was, the reincarnation of John the Beloved or not. I look at it as, I don't know whether I'm actually tapping into the oneness of God and that one individual entity, or whether there's multiples of John all over the world, or whether all of us can tap into the memories of John. I have no idea. And I don't really go down that rabbit hole because of the fact that rabbit hole would then be spending my time in the past. And there's only one moment that I'm conscious, and it's in the here and now. Being Lazarus. Yeah. Joe, what would you need a number for? Hello, Bridget. Bridget, I'm gonna make you laugh. When I was 5 years old in first grade, I had a major crush on a girl named Bridget, and so much so, I had her name written on the wall next to my bed. I got in a lot of trouble for that. Well, this past summer, I was in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, visiting, and I went out to see my brother's band play. And another friend of mine was there, and he was another musician. He comes over to say hi. He said, "Come here and meet my girlfriend." Well, this was Bridget, the girl I knew from first grade. It was a very, very funny experience. Joe, I don't know what you mean about the number thing, so you'll have to let me know. Hello, Celestial Harpist. How are you? Everyone is talking about a number. Well, we're talking about 444 because 444 was something that came up in my life a lot, and it came up with a lot of people's lives. So 444 and 1111 are the two biggies. And then there's many more. Her first name is spelled just like yours, and her last name was actually Downs, Bridget Downs. It was spelled exactly like yours. And it was written in pencil on my wall. You didn't get the notification? Well, that's because, Sarah, what happened was I went on like I normally did, and then I had a big technical thing and everything crashed, and I had to jump over and start. This is a brand new one that wasn't actually scheduled. I had to actually come over and start this one because that one completely crashed. So it's been one of those days today. My new YouTube channel crashed in YouTube, and I lost all the artwork and everything that I'd done, and I had to redo that today. Today has been one of those very interesting days. Yeah, and when I first heard of the 444, it was Nick Bunick's book, The Messengers. And he used to wake up at 4:44 in the morning and get messages. And he would get up and have to write stuff down. And he was a very interesting man. Like I said, I had dinner with him a couple of times, and he was just a very interesting man. Oh, Marcy married the guy their boyfriend from fourth grade. Very nice. Very nice. Hi, Brittany. How are you? So, guys, I wanted to, there was one thing I did want to talk about tonight, and I know that we got started late because of the technical stuff, but in all my private sessions, I often run into the the comment that people are seeking connection, or trying to find God, or trying to connect to spirit, or trying to. And I was doing a private session for someone the other day, and when I do those private sessions, I always do an automatic writing beforehand, and I start my whole session an hour before they even get there. I've sat down for an hour, and I just start writing. Usually they write themselves in minutes, but I always do it an hour ahead of time just in case. But a very profound statement came through in one the other day that I just love it. I think it's so profound. It said, "Seeking God is like looking for your head. You can't see it. You can't see it until you look in a mirror." And that's interesting, because you're looking outside of yourself. You can't see the whole head that you're looking from. But when you look in the mirror, you can see yourself. You can see the mirror. You can see the room around you. You can see everything. And that is God. That is the oneness of God. So in seeking for God, you're like seeking inside of God, because everything is God. And so people are constantly looking for this connection, which is why I'm always talking about the idea of this is a trip you have to unpack for. You have to release all the dogmas and the techniques and the methods and modalities. You have to release all of the need to seek and need to find, all the wants, needs, hopes, and desires. You need to just acknowledge, because God is always there, and our fears and anxieties and our needs obscure the view. So it's a matter of taking the time to look in the mirror and see God all around you, and recognize that God is all around you. One of the things that came from one of my regressions was, when you seek a path will be laid before you. But until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. And that is really the key, is that when you're going down these methods, modalities, techniques, and avenues, dogmas, you're on a path. And it's going to keep showing you more path. And you're either going to walk that path for the rest of your life, or you're going to get tired of that path, and then you're going to look for another path. And I just recently did a video, probably in the last couple months, about Doreen Virtue, and how she had gone down this path with the angel cards, and then she got to the end of the path and she couldn't find anything more. So the next bright, shiny thing she found was to be born again. And so she is going down that path now. And in the Bible, they talk about you'll wander in the wilderness for 40 years and 40 days and 40 nights and 40 years, right? And that wandering in the wilderness is you're wandering through the physical world, which is the wilderness. But everything is within you. And what is outside of you is expressed through your belief. And your wants, needs, hopes, and desires creates paths. And those paths give you something to actually follow. But God you don't follow something that you're a part of, because it's not away from you. And that's the whole point of this thing. It's like looking for your head. You can't see your head, right? Until you look in the mirror. I hope that makes sense. Oh, damn, John. Deep. Bridget, I love that. Well, to me, it was that. First of all, that came out of a channeled automatic writing. So to me, that was it hit me the same way. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. I love the question about leveling up. A leveling up spirit. I don't think of it as hierarchy, as opposed to being more love and less fear. And if you think about just being that vibration of pure love, and when you are in depression or in anxiety, you feel heavy. That is why the Beatles used to say, "Man, that's a drag," or "Man, that's heavy," right? And when people are excited, they can fly they can fly like a bird, and they feel light and airy. So it's not about hierarchies. It's about feeling like you can fly. And so the reason I chose Level Up has nothing to do with hierarchies. It really had to do with the fact that my son's a big gamer, and he's always leveling up. So, yep, that's funny. Yeah, good. All right, excellent. So the new channel, I'm excited about it. I have, like I said, one new video. I have 5 videos on there that were hour-long conversations that were on the John of New channel. They've been moved over there now, just so when people get there for the first time, there's videos to see. And yeah, so they're just moving up to the next adventure, basically, and it's just kind of the same thing. I'm not a big gamer either. Anyway, so guys, what topics do you guys want to talk about tonight? I know we started late, so I'll go a little longer than normal time, so we can make it up. But what topics, what questions do you guys have? I would love to dive into some. Been a busy week this week, though. My voice is a little fried. Started the prep for the fast, and I'm already feeling the water weight coming off. So, the first week I usually lose, like 10 or 15 pounds because of just water weight. And then it slows down to about a pound a day during the actual fast. And sometimes it's, 2 or 3 pounds a day. It depends on what the body is doing. And then when you're fasting, I don't know if you know this or not, there's a thing in fasting that you lose weight and then you plateau. But while you're plateauing, you should be measuring your body, because while you're plateauing, your body recompositions, you're going to lose waist size. Even though your weight's not dropping, your physical body is getting smaller in the process at that moment. So it's just really interesting. Oh, well, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'm glad. The Ascended Masters thing is an interesting thing to me because a lot of people, well, let me back up a little bit. When I talk about very Christian topics, the people who are so invested in that get very vehement about that topic. The other day I said God is at the bottom of every breath in one of my YouTube shorts. I had 5 dislikes instantly, because it goes against Christianity, right? It's the same thing with Ascended Masters and a lot of the New Age dogmas. If I say anything against it, they get vehement about it. And luckily, I haven't seen that yet on this one. I was really surprised that I didn't, because when I put that out, I was like, okay, here we come. And then it didn't happen. So I was very, very pleased. Why do I do this fast? That's a great question. Is it for spiritual reasons or to feel better? Does fasting have an impact on your connection to spirit? It doesn't really have an impact on my connection to spirit. I find that when I fast, my mind gets clearer because I'm now running off of ketones. My skin clears up. I just have this overwhelming sense of wellness. And when I come off of it, I come in one food at a time, and I pretty much know what foods affect me. But I am a passionate pizza eater, and pizza is one of the ones that gets me, right? Because my main issue has always been a wheat allergy, which I have not healed yet, and I have yet to figure out why. Maybe it's because this is my body, right? Maybe that's why. But that's something that I will be healing. But when I fast, my eyes clear up, my sinuses clear up, my skin clears up, my brain clears up. I get more work done. I get more productive. I get able to just experience so much more. But it doesn't change anything with me on a meditation level or anything. That it doesn't make me reach higher realms. A lot of people think that's why I fast. I fast because it just feels good, and I do the 40 days because it was just the number that was always out there. And the first time I tried it, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the the feeling of getting to 40 days, because you get there and you're like, I just went 40 days, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. And then you just feel great, and you add something in, and then summertime comes around, and you go into the beach, and you're you're eating your caramel corn, and you're all your other things, and but yeah, I don't do it for spiritual reasons. I do it because I enjoy the process of it, if that makes any sense at all. I absolutely do intermittent fasting off and on all year, and there's a great portion of the year I eat 2 meals a day, and then there's other times I eat 1 meal a day, OMAD, and I save up my stuff. But the one thing, except for on the water fast, the one thing I don't give up is coffee. I love my 1 cup, my big mug of coffee in the morning. But I actually like intermittent fasting as well. Here's the other thing I found, that for me to go into a fast in general, I have to remove all carbohydrates the week before. I have to break the sugar addictions of carbohydrates the week before. So by the time that the first day of the fast starts, I'm not hungry, because the carbohydrates are what make you hungry. And so on the first day of the fast, by the time I get to the first day of the fast, I'm down to 1 meal a day, and I'm eating like a small, like 2 or 3 eggs at that point or something like that. And so by the time the fast comes along, there's no hard transition. You always hear people talking about going on a fast and having the keto flu or any of that. I never experienced any of those, because I transitioned myself into the keto flu. Really is breaking yourself of the candida, the sugars, the things in your body, and then it transitions you into a different gut biome, because you're transitioning only to zero carb foods. You're getting rid of the candida. You're getting rid of all the sugar eaters, and then, which are the things that make you feel hungry, and then you transition from that, because now you don't feel hungry. It's interesting. Let me jump back over here. You may have answered this question previously. I was wondering, do you resonate with the words written in the book of John? I resonate with a lot of the words in the book of John. And I don't think it's any accident the book of John is the most esoteric book in the Bible. I mean, God is love. No fear can exist in pure love, and all those sort of beautiful statements are in there. But then there's a bunch that I believe are mistranslated. And I believe there's, no one is the line. He who believes in me shall have eternal life. Right? I think the word "in" should not be in there. He who believes me shall have eternal life, because he was telling what he found, not that he was telling you to believe in him, to actually come and put him on a pedestal. So there's a lot of nuances in there. It's like the Sermon on the Mount. It's a fascinating read, because when you look at it with the perspective of love and fear, and then you look at it the perspective of history, all the blessed are the peacemakers and all the blessed statements at the top, most of them are beautiful, loving statements, and you can totally figure out what they are. And then right where the blessed stuff stops, all of a sudden it's like this stark reality of Judaic law, and you have to follow this law and you have to follow that law, and like 2/3 of the Sermon on the Mount is telling you to follow Judaic law. And there are multiple times in the Bible still today where Joshua just went totally against Judaic law, and because he didn't believe in that path, he believed in the oneness and coming to that space, and so it really comes down to in that book, you still have to read it from the perspective of is it saying loving? And it's all the books of the Bible. It's all the books of the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran. It's all of them. God is found in all of them. It's just a matter of understanding God is love. Where religions lose me is when they say God is love, so you must fear him. That's where they lose me, because if God is love, there is no. The book of John literally says no fear can exist in pure love. So we should not fear him, or her, or it. Let me jump back over. You guys are cooking now. So, I'm middle of the road, not Christian or New Age. I'm. People ask me if I'm Christian, and I can't be Christian because of the word Christ. Because Christ means anointed ones, which means spiritual, which means Messiah, or Savior, and Joshua never taught that. So from my memory. Nice. Is it Sant? Is that how you say it? Sant? Mm-hmm. Ray, I agree with you on the wheat thing. It's actually interesting when you look at the studies of it. Once the Egyptians became an agrarian society, that's where all their diseases were found in their bones, and all of their weakened bones and all their rotted teeth and everything happened once they started eating a grain-based diet. No, Joe, you said, do people leave negative comments and come back and say they are wrong? Why are people here if they don't get anything from your site? Well, actually, it's interesting. Well, they never come back and say they're wrong. They never come back and say they're wrong. It's interesting. Most of them are here because they're getting something, and then I'll say something, and they'll take totally offense at it rather than being open to someone else having a different belief. And when that happens, I had one the other day that got. She was the one that she accused me of believing I was an ascended master, which is why I made that video. Because I was like, I don't believe in ascended masters. But it's like she didn't like something I said, and so she took offense to it. And actually, it's interesting what I find is a lot of the arguments that I get, they get mad at me because they tell me what I'm supposed to believe. And when I don't believe it, they tell me that you're just arguing. You're just wanting to argue with me. I'm like, no, I know what I believe. I'm very comfortable in my faith. You're just not comfortable with my faith. And so they never come back. And what I find most interesting is the people who put the thumbs down on the channel, they almost never comment. So I never know who they are. So which is fine. Experiences with intuition. I'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, you see, I have the Recovering Catholic book mostly done. I'm fitting it in all between the videos, so that they take time. It's taking time. The next book that people have always asked me about is putting my personal story down. So I've debated on that being my second book. But taking the book of John and dissecting it might be maybe even a more marketable book for all that matters. But Shriyan Shah. I love that name. I can't say it, but I guess because I have a generic name. Your name is cool. My name is like the kind you say when you're going to a seedy hotel. My memory of Jeshua's teachings we all came from the perspective of he found something out about all of us. He was living what he found out about all of us. And there was no one who couldn't do what he did, and there was no one, and he understood that our belief was creating our experience, and he understood that we are all one with God. He said, ye are gods. You are the children of God. Greater works than I have done, you will do. He said all these things, and he was always about that. I do have a very distinct memory of him avoiding the Essenes because they wanted him to take the title of Messiah, and he wouldn't do it. And which I think is really interesting because that happened again with the Theosophical Society and Krishnamurti. They asked him to do it, and he said no. But the people who understand our oneness realize there's no hierarchy, right? And there are no deities. There are no ascended masters. There are no things to put on a pedestal that we need. And that's not just people either. It's like the people who are into psychedelics and all that stuff. Somebody just asked me about that the other day. It's a personal journey, and I will never condemn anybody for their own personal journey. It's their choice, right? But in my belief, there is nothing in this physical world that you need to connect to Source. The experiences that I've experienced amazing things. I've never taken a drug in my life. I don't believe in deities. I remember being in a tent and having my first Kundalini rising in the same tent with a guy who had been trying to have one for 20 years. But the difference was I said I am, and he said I'm trying. And that's how simple this whole thing is. And the regression said, it's so simple we have a hard time understanding it. We create every day. We create in every moment. I am thirsty, and your mouth dries up. I am hungry, your stomach growls. I am tired, and you yawn. The I am, God's name, whatever you ask in God's name is granted. Your belief about your present moment is what is being expressed in the outer world. What you think you become, you create your world, just like the Buddha said. So Jeshua, that's what Jeshua taught. That is what Jeshua taught, is that we are divine and our experience is our own, and we create positively or negatively. People ask me a lot about how Jeshua healed. The way he healed was he would find something for them to put belief in, put faith in. And then he would end the whole thing is, it was your faith that healed you. He was telling them that you have the power of this. You are the ones who have the infinite possibilities of the universe in the palm of your hand, actually in the palm of your mind, in the kernel of your consciousness, because your consciousness is creating the physical, if that makes any sense. Boy, I just went off on a big soapbox tangent there. That's a great question, Shriyan. I want to say it right. There's a certain percentage of people who have regressions who have a channel left open, and I was one of those small percentages. Basically, what happens to me is somebody will say something, and I'll have a full-blown sensory memory of it. And when I say sensory, I mean smell the room, feel the air. Oh, just like I was there, just like I was in the regression as well. See, my regret, a lot of people talk about what's it like to be in a regression. For me, I don't know what it's like for somebody else to be in a regression. For me, I was physically on that beach, and the conversation with the regressionist were the thoughts in my head. So it was like the consciousness traded places. And so in the years since then, things have just come. I've said this recently, a couple weeks ago. I mentioned this. The most recent memory that came back was somebody asked me about Mary Magdalene, and I had a whole new visceral memory of being in a room when she was literally clearing a table, and it was just the two of us in the room. And We were laughing at something. I have no idea what we were laughing at, but we were both just laughing and on opposite sides of the room. It was very interesting, but I had a complete visceral memory of that. But what I find most interesting is when I sit down and I do my personal sit in love moments, I recognize the feeling of Jeshua. And Jeshua discovered this embodiment of love. So when I feel that loving state, I feel him. And the reason I tell that is because long before my regression, I had a story. And I know I've told this story before, but I want to tell it again. I was raised by a very nice man who was, of his 7 kids, I was the one he didn't like. And I was the one he took it out on. And he was a racist. He was a homophobic. He was just a nasty individual. We heard the N word on a regular basis. And you know, being a child who is being not treated well, you're always trying to please. And so I was very, very much going right down the same road. I was becoming a racist. I was becoming a homophobic. And I walked into a convenience store, and the cashier gave me $5 too much change. And I think I was 19 or 20 at this time. And he gave me $5 too much change. And I walked out, and I noticed it. And I walked back in. I said, "I'm sorry, you gave me $5 too much change." And the next person in line says, "Well, there's something you don't see every day, an honest person." And I felt this rush of pure loving energy just fill me. And it struck me. And I walked out of the store, and I'm walking to my car, and I'm just, what was that? What was that? And I was like, and out of my mouth falls the words, "Jesus, was that you?" And it swelled again. What happened to me that night was what I call my epiphany moment. Because the next day I wasn't racist. And the next day I wasn't homophobic. And that didn't help my relationship with my father at all. But the next day I lost all those prejudices. And I had a real moment of understanding something. And that, what I noticed was, I felt his presence. And when I had the regression and I felt him on the beach, I felt his presence there. When I sit down to do my sit in love in the morning, I feel his presence there. I feel my mom's presence. My mom's presence, right? When I'm writing books, I hear her laughing at my jokes, right? So to go back to what you asked, how come I have so many memories? Because they just keep coming. I hope that answers your question. Hello. I see a hand waving at me, SM. I hope that answers your question, Shriyan. I have heard that if I need help from God, angels, Jeshua, etc., all you need do is ask for it. What are your thoughts on that? It really doesn't matter what my thoughts are on it. It only matters what your thoughts are on it. If you believe it, it'll happen. You know, people are constantly channeling entities, right? If they believe it, it happens. When they cross over and have near-death experiences, they see exactly what they believe and transition through it. Joshua put mud on the blind man's eyes because he knew the blind man needed something tactile to put faith in. So God's angels, Jeshua, first of all, I don't believe in the hierarchy. So that's the one thing for me, but it doesn't matter what I believe. It really only matters what you believe. Because I've seen people healed from God and Jesus and angels because that's where they put their belief. But for me, it comes from the space of they're all part of the oneness of God. And I just bypass the middleman for myself. I hope that answers your question, Blake. Why does God require our belief and faith so much for us to heal if he is all powerful and able to do it without our belief. I don't believe in an external God. I believe that God and I are one, and God, you are one. And God doesn't require anything from you. You are the inspiration of your universe, of your experience. God is the supply. It's like, as I've said before, you're the inspiration, God is the paint, the paintbrush, and the canvas, and the two of you together create the experience. It's not, as God says, whatever you, is what the Bible says, whatever you ask in God's name is granted. It doesn't say, whatever you ask in God's name is granted. If you're a good boy or a good girl, it doesn't say that. Whatever you ask is granted, good or bad. Your belief is what heals. Your belief is what creates. And if you believe that God requires it and God won't do it, and God can heal you without that, then you're setting yourself up to go, well, why hasn't he? And then you're missing the point, because the belief that God hasn't is what's not making you heal, because you don't believe it. Your faith is not healing you, because it doesn't matter. There's no external entity that's coming out to get you or to love you or to give you. It's all just this singular vibration of love, and our fears and our anxieties keep us away from it. God is not external. God is within us, and God is part of us. That's why that quote I said earlier, when you're seeking God, is like looking for your head. You can't see it until you look in the mirror. So let me jump down and see what else. What do you think about free will and how it aligns or disrupts divine timing? Well, you'll have to explain divine timing to me, because I don't know what that is. Because divine timing, you're the part of it that's divine, right? So let's talk. I'll tell you my tooth story, and I know many of you have heard this tooth story, but I'll tell it again. I was supposed to speak at the ARE, Association for Research and Enlightenment, better known as the Edgar Cayce main campus in Virginia Beach. Really excited about speaking there. I ended up having a big chip in my front tooth, and I did not want to go there with that chip. So I said, thank you, God. And I say God, and when I say God, I don't mean an external being. I'm just speaking in gratitude. God, universe, consciousness, the paint, the paintbrush, the canvas. Thank you, God, for the perfect tooth I am receiving. Amen. And I just believed it. So then, an hour later, I ordered a submarine sandwich from Jimmy John's. And I bit into that sandwich, and my tooth broke off. Now, in that moment, I could have lost faith. I could have said, well, that didn't work. But I didn't do that. What I did was say, oh, I wonder where this is leading me. Because I know that when I ask to get my tooth fixed, I am, God's name, getting my tooth fixed. So here's divine timing for you. I got a phone call a couple hours later from a director of a festival I did in Florida, who I worked for her the year before as an assistant. She says, John, how are you? I said, my tooth just broke off, which I never would have said if it was just the chip. She says, that's weird. She says, well, I just became president of an organization that helps Renaissance Festival entertainers and vendors get medical and dental work done for free. I go, really? Well, that's what I did for years and years. She says, how much is it going to cost? I said, I have no idea. She said, go get an estimate. Well, with that tooth and something next to it that had to be done, it was a $3,000 estimate. So I go back to her, I say $3,000. She overnighted me $3,000, and I had my tooth fixed, and I spoke at the ARE. Was that divine timing, or was that me holding on to my faith all the way through? My faith happens that way. Like the day that I was short on rent. Thank you, God, universe, consciousness, yada, yada, for the unexpected income I'm receiving. Walked out my front door, found an envelope with a check written to me for $400 from the vasectomy clinic where I got my vasectomy. Most unexpected income I've ever received, right? Was that divine timing? No. That was a product of my belief. So the concept of divine timing is an interesting one to me, because you're the thing that's divine. You know, God, you and God have a relationship like you and Amazon have a relationship. You put in your belief, and you don't contact them the next day and say, is it coming? Or will you please give it to me? You just believe it. You just know you're getting it. You put your order in, and it shows up on your door. When your faith is that strong, it shows up really fast, really fast. And I could tell you story after story just like that. But it's really not about divine timing. I also know people who have really believed terrible things about their present moment and had their divine timing show them terrible things because it's all about their belief. I love you too, Joe, but you're actually misquoting what I said. You said the reason we're here is to experience the absence of God. I said we're here to experience the illusion of the absence of God because God is never absent. We are here to be able to experience our God, love from all angles, from having it, from not having it, from hurting others, from being hurt, from being all. And the reason I I know this is because of all the near-death experiencers who, when they cross over, have the life review. What do? They experience their entire life and all their emotions of it from their perspective and the people they were interacting with and all their emotions too. So you're actually experiencing all that. Now, scientifically, you could not know something without knowing its baseline. Fear is your baseline to understand what love truly is. And so love is always here. And we go back to love every 16 hours. We start to yawn. What is yawning? Yawning is releasing fear. Because when we exhale, we're letting go of the air that we're holding on to keep ourselves safe enough to run fast. So we start to yawn, we go to bed, we get shifted to a different state of consciousness, we're back into the oneness of God. And then next day we get up and we do our scuba diving down into the physical plane, down into the valley of the shadow of death. Not death, the shadow of it. And I love you too, Joe. Jeshua understood that he was facilitating healing. There's a story in the Bible of the group avoiding the town of Bet-Shean, and they avoided the town because it says it right in the Bible, because no healings could happen there. The reason no healings could happen there is because they knew Joseph the carpenter and could not believe that the son of the carpenter could heal them. But I have a memory of going into that town and telling people that he was outside of the town. And people who had faith came out to him. And that leap of faith coming to him was the catalyst. Now, in my personal life, I have seen people miraculously heal themselves right in front of me. And I've been blessed enough to be part of the facilitation of that. But it's about two things. It's about bringing them to their present moment and bringing them to their belief about their present moment. And when you bring somebody to your belief about the present moment that they are healing, receiving healing, they heal. And I could tell you story after story. I've seen kids stand out of wheelchairs. I saw a lady walk out of a room that I was working with her, and I walked her out to her car, and she forgot her 2 canes and her 2 helpers who helped her come in, because I just walked her out to her car casually, because she just forgot about it, because it was no longer part of her experience. And I had a lady come in with a swollen face, with an impacted teeth. Under 10 minutes, she walked out of there with no swelling and giggling and laughing. And there are lots of witnesses to that one, too. But it had nothing to do with any special power other than bringing that person to their faith, their belief in the present moment. Because most people sit in this moment and they go, my life sucks because of all these things. Or they say, I want to heal. I am healing is very different from I want to. And that's the belief statement. what do I think reincarnation actually is? I'm actually a very interesting guy because I have these memories, but I don't feel like I'm vain enough to say I know what reincarnation is because I don't know what it is. I know that it doesn't matter who anybody was. It only matters who you are in this moment. And for me, I don't know whether I'm the only one who has these memories or everybody could tap at these memories, or whether there's 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 or 1,000,000 people who could tap at these memories. I know that I've met people who believe they were John. I also have met people who believe they're Peter and Philip, and I've met multiples of all of them. And Mary Magdalene, like I've said many times, I've met over 30 people who believe they're Mary Magdalene. I don't know. I just don't think it matters. Yeah, I have the memories, but the memories aren't nearly as important as what was taught in those memories. And that, to me, that's why I left doing the work 20 years ago, is because people were so invested in the past life, they weren't hearing what I was saying. And coming back, I've been so amazed at how humanity has drastically shifted over the years. It's become much more, people are much more open to being divine. And Joe, spirituality is a personal journey. I'm not asking you to believe me. The question I have to ask you is, why are you wasting time on not liking what I believe? Believe what you believe. If it doesn't feel right to you, follow that. Don't follow me. Don't follow anybody. I'm not a middleman. I'm not asking to be put up on a pedestal. I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. Everything about my channels is all about me speaking my truth. And if you go back and you watch my videos, you'll see I say multiple times, spirituality is a personal journey. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to just find your own truth. So, moving on. I have not heard of The Secret Life of Water. I'll have to look into that. Definitely. Oh, boy, there's a whole bunch still down here. I did a healing workshop a while ago, and every time I've tried to have another one, nobody's signed up for it. So I now sell it as a mini course on my page, the healing workshop. But I may end up on the new channel. It's actually on my list to do how Joshua healed video, to do even a more condensed version of that workshop. But if you're interested in the workshop, it is on the website. How do you open up and ask questions to the source? Should anyone be able to do that? Does it take a lot of practice? What it takes is a lot of trust, a lot of faith. Most people have a lot of self-doubt. And so when things start to come through, they doubt it and they question it and they judge it. If you've ever had a private session with me, I do a channel writing before every session. And first thing I tell the person who I'm talking to, I say, I explain my process. I exhale. I set all my fears, all my anxieties aside. But the first thing I do is I think of their name. And then I set my fears and anxieties aside. Whatever comes into my head, I write down, no matter how weird it is. Because it's not for me, it's for them. And when I write down the weirdest stuff, that's the stuff that is most important to them. I had one lady who I literally called her Truly Scrumptious and My Little Choochie Face. Those are songs from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Her husband, who had passed away, used to sing those songs to her. And then at the bottom of her thing, there was something like all empirical evidence is found in the product of their belief. So science itself is a dogma. And I had never heard that before. Well, she said it was from her dead husband's book, right? So whatever's going to come through comes through. It's a matter of coming to trust. Now, if you go on my channel, there's a video on connecting, and it's about automatic writing. It's the easiest way I've found to get good at it, because you just have to just sit down and just start writing everything down, and then you go back and validate. And the more you validate, and the more your trust and your faith grows, and the more your faith grows, the easier it is for you to then tap into whatever comes through. You know, those videos I've done, Open Up and Ask. If you watch that video, watch those videos, I end up talking really fast. And the reason I'm talking really fast is because the words are coming in so fast that I have to keep up. You know, I'm not formulating the thoughts. The thoughts are just pouring. And that to me is the key, is building up of faith to believe that it's coming, whatever's coming through is divine. And it's interesting. So I always follow that. That's why if you were ever in my membership group, you'd know that every so often I just say, "Hey guys, I'm not coming tonight," because I need that time off. And the group just is loving and understanding, and it's one of the best parts about that group is they're so loving, so understanding, and we all, speaking of that membership group, we all have different beliefs, we all have different thoughts, and those different thoughts, those different beliefs, we have found love in all of them. We literally have found love in all of them. And when you find that love in all of them, you realize that there is no one religion that encompasses all of God. Right? It can't be found there. Right? And when you deliver love, you receive love, and that is you expressing God, because God is love. I do plan on eventually doing more Open Up and Ask videos. I just haven't. I've been very busy with everything that's been going on lately. I just haven't had a chance to really sit down and do one. Moving on. Joe, I think it's an interesting analogy. Because your analogy implies that God doesn't see you and God is with you all the time. But as a parent, you know, when the child burns their hand on the stove, they learn something, right? And when you have someone who's got a broken leg, eventually you have to take the crutches away for the leg to get stronger. You know, it sometimes as a parent, you have to let your child go through something so that they can come to the understanding. And everything I just said is based around the idea that you are separate from God, which is what that belief is. God is not separate from you. God doesn't send you away to never see you again. God is with you all the time. And that's my belief. John, you can say it. Joe, you can say anything. I don't judge you for your beliefs. I'm only sharing mine. Bet Shean is the name of the town. It's also known as Beth Shean. If I had more time, I could dig out the photographs of the archaeological site, because I went to it when I was over there. Beth Shean, it's not too far from Nazareth. It's either Betshean or Bethshean. Beth Shean. There you go. I agree with that one, Rice. I believe, Amanda, I believe in the oneness of God. But I just like in Hinduism, it's the sit and the sit sat ki, the individual sparks of consciousness. I believe that there are individual sparks that have a little bit more knowledge, and I believe there's individual sparks who are there I know that I've had people come into my life, imaginary friends as a child, who have helped me, but I don't define them as angels. I just define them as other parts of the oneness of God. And the oneness of God is you, and it's me. And, when I go out, sometimes I'm the nice guy who helps someone. And sometimes you're the nice person who helps someone. And then they go home and they go, my God, this person really helped me. And you become the guardian angel. Joe, I think it's so healthy that you're listening to other people, because that's how I cement my beliefs. When I do in the membership group, we have a guy who's into the law of one. We have a former atheist. We have a couple of Mormons. We have several New Agers. We and they all come in from different perspectives, but we all just love each other, right? And it's that feeling of love. It's that expression of love, and we laugh and we joke and we have fun, but we talk about deep topics without any judgment of anybody else's beliefs. And it's beautiful, and that to me is an expression of God. Well, Joe, that's great. I respect your beliefs. Yeah, Marcy is now a member of our group. That's right. Diversity makes the world go round. I think love makes the world go round. Diversity is, in my mind, an interesting perspective, because I don't, I just love everybody, and when I traveled through Egypt, I like I said, I met another American who, everywhere I went, people wanted to fight him because he didn't believe as I did. Everywhere I went, I was treated like a member of their family. It was just wonderful. Joe, I think it's beautiful that you don't agree. I really do. Because spirituality is a personal journey. And the Bible itself says, in my Father's house there are many mansions. That means there's many ways to God. And not agreeing does not make me wrong and you right, or you wrong and me right, right? It just means that we have a different belief, and that's fine. Our experience is our belief. And if your experience is working for you, and your experience is showing you a loving world, I'm not going to judge you for it, right? But the thing for me is that it's like the people who click dislike and then never comment, right? I would much rather hear them tell me why, because I'm like, to me, I'm not learning anything if you're just complaining. And something I said to my son one day, I said, bitching without offering solutions is just bitching, right? So it really comes down to that, right? And I respect you too, Joe. I believe it's been the Bible. I believe it's been altered, translated, interpreted, manipulated, and I think that when you read any ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the writings of Buddha, you need to read them all with discernment, because to listen to any of them as infallible is like asking a caveman how to scuba dive. Right? Caveman has no clue about scuba diving, because now we have a different understanding in this time, right? But they have kernels of truth. They have kernels of information. They know when they go in the water, they can hold their breath, right? So it's a matter of going, these guys from 2,000 years ago, they were processing just like you and I are processing right now, but they were processing from the knowledge they had back then. And we're processing from the knowledge we have right now, right? So we're coming at it from very different perspectives, but it's a matter of coming to the realization that back in the day, a lot of those beliefs were manipulated for power reasons. And, that's why Joshua didn't become the Messiah, because they wanted him to also raise an army, and he wouldn't do it. Oh, well, thank you, Joe. And Joe, like I said, I don't think you're wrong. I just don't believe that, right? But if it works for you, it really doesn't matter. If you are living a loving life and you're experiencing a loving life and a joyful life, follow it. Don't try to change your belief because you want to believe what somebody else believes, or you want to understand, or you know your belief. Follow it, because eventually you'll come to a place where you'll be like, okay, this is my belief. Is it working for me? And then you'll refine it one way or another. But I don't think there is one single truth. I'm speaking my truth because it's what I have come to understand. But I don't think it's wrong of my friend Leszek to go down the law of one route, because Leszek is one of the most loving, joyful people you'll ever meet in your life. He has found love and joy in his belief system. And I think I can't in any way, shape, or form judge him because he is being loving. To me, it all comes back to what Yeshua said. Love one another. I leave you this one commandment, love one another. How you love one another is really up to you. But if your love is judgment and anger and hate, and you have to believe what I believe, then you're not really loving. You're manipulating. And I don't think you're doing that at all. I think that what you're saying is beautiful. Trent, this is a question that I get asked all the time, and I've answered on many videos, but I'm going to answer it again here. Joshua was a rock star. My first memory of meeting him, people were running down the beach to see him. And he had the Essenes trying to tell him to become the Messiah, to become a king and raise an army to fight Rome. And we know the Essenes wanted to do that because the first attack on Rome was led by John the Essene. So Joshua understood that what he understood was this beautiful teaching. And he knew that right now all the ruling authorities could see was him. And it was going to end bad for him no matter either way, because he was the rock star. He was the one who everyone was looking at. And he did a couple things, right? He went to the cross, and he overcame his own fears going there. I mean, he did something on the cross, which I'm not going to talk about this week because I did it last week. He did something across that was so beautiful and loving for me that in that moment, he should have been in his own agony, his own fears, and he wasn't. He was literally loving the people around him as he went there. Joshua is an example. He showed us the way. He showed us the way, the truth, and the life, right? He showed us that you don't have to succumb to your fears. Now, Swami Narayan said that the lion didn't eat him because he was without fear, and so the lion gave him nothing to be fearful for. But Joshua was in a situation where there were so many people who wanted him gone to stamp down the belief systems that he was creating, because when you tell a group of people that they are empowered and they don't, they create their world, the ruling authorities don't like that too much because they believe they are the ones in charge and they're the ones who rule the world. And so that's why this happened. And then he spread the teachings and went very publicly to his death, specifically so that people would think it was done. He was trying to stop the persecution of us and the people who followed. And in that, it still happened to some form, but that information still spread. And so it really was sad to watch. And if you go to my channel and you look up the video called 2 Moments from My Regression, you'll hear my reaction to it in that video. and it wasn't a pleasant experience. Okay, Joe. But beautiful. See, this group attracts the most beautiful people. Love it. Love it. Well, guys, we are now past the 9 o'clock hour, which is about 15 minutes past. So this is about to make up for the little bit that I missed at the beginning. And I'm going to go save my voice for the rest of the night. I hope this was a good night for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the technical stuff. I don't know what. I actually have no idea what happened, but it was just one of those days. So thank you for being here. Love you all. And I appreciate if anybody super chatted. I appreciate it. I wasn't paying attention because I was reading everything. So thank you guys. And you guys have a great night. And I'll talk to you next Friday. See ya. Oh, hey, by the way, Kim Carey and I are going to be doing either a live stream or a video on the relationship of love and fear. And I'm trying to get her to do it as a live stream so that we can do it on a Friday night, the two of us together. And so that may be coming one of these Friday nights. It may be Kim Carey from Intuitive View and I together talking about love and fear. So you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at johnofnew.com.